Brennan just finished his first Arizona signing day, and there's a lot to break down, and there's some stuff that still remains, but we're going to get to all of that here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. Check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, we got a lot to get to this show, but we are going to go very heavy on Arizona football signing day, because there is a lot to get to. And overall, now, going back and forth with a couple people on Twitter, you got to remember a couple things here before we get into this. And, saying, oh, well, why isn't Arizona more highly ranked? Listen, Brent Brennan took over this job 2 weeks ago, 2.5, 3 weeks ago, whatever the case may be. And so that December signing period, like a guy on Twitter kept trying to mention, didn't really mean anything because, again, Jed Fish left, and he took a lot of players, or he took a lot of the signees with him. He took Audric Harris with him. He took Damon Williams with him. I mean, took Rashawn Clark. I can keep going. He took a lot of players with him. Now, some players did stay, and we're going to get to those players. But overall, it's not really fair to say that Brent Brennan, couldn't do this because he's been doing this for 2.5, 3 weeks. Now, you look at Arizona's roster, and there is a lot to like. There is now you at the quarterback spot. Everybody knows you've already got Noah Fafita. Noah Fafita is a monster. Noah Fafita is going to be one of the best players in college football. At receiver, everybody knows about T-Mac, and you got a wealth of experience in other positions as well. Then on the offensive line, you got a lot of talent there as well. And we'll break all of that down. But there were certainly some positions though that needed to be able to be addressed in a big way. And should we start on defense or offense? Tell you what, let's start on defense because that is the position where Arizona did lose a lot. You lost Deuce Davis, who is probably going to be your starting pass rusher. You also lost Isaiah Ward, your other starting pass rusher. They both went to Washington. Boo. But we like Deuce a lot, so that's neither here nor there. But so at the linebacker spot, at the lineman spot, here's what you got. Right now, you got Big Bill Norton coming back. BBN, his hype video came out, and check it out, by the way. His hype video was fantastic. All kinds of cool stuff out of BBN. But then that's kind of what you had. You had Tai Uiagalelei, who I believe is going to be your other starting defensive end. He, I believe, is going to have a breakout year. Not only do I believe he's going to have a breakout year, I think he's going to be very, very good. Big fan of Tai Uiagalelei and what he can do. But you had to fill out some other positions. And the first one is pass rusher, because again, keep in mind, you lost Deuce, you lost Isaiah Ward, and you bring in Tre Smith. Tre Smith can play. Tre Smith, San Jose State, it might have been one of San Jose State's handful of best players last year. A guy that's probably going to play in the NFL, 6'4", 255, 260. You look at his numbers, 70 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks, had a monster game against SC, et cetera, et cetera. Tre Smith is good. And Tre Smith has multiple years to play as well. So you can probably just kind of plug him in and play him, and you're going to be good. Like I said, Tre Smith is good. Tre Smith, he's strong. He's got that quick twitch to him. Just like I said, a lot to like about what Tre Smith brings to the table. And like I said, and he's an Arizona native as well. But a lot of people say, well, will that translate to the Power 5 level? That's always a fair question. But when I look at players like this, I generally wonder, or I generally think to myself, how good are their stats? Because if their stats are really good, there's obviously an upside to them. that maybe some other players don't necessarily possess. His stats were really good. And he was obviously all over the field. When you're all over the field and your stats are really good, that's something that certainly catches my attention. Tre Smith, though, I think he's going to be an absolute, I think he's going to be a monster, and I think he's going to end up playing in the NFL at some point. You got to, like I said, I look at it and I'm saying, all right, what can you provide? And like I said, I like Deuce Davis a lot. You will never hear any Deuce Davis slander from me because I think he's going to be really, really good. But, you know, I was thinking for Deuce next year, 6.5 sacks. I think Tre Smith, I think that's a very, very comparable comparison from a statistical aspect. Get something like those 6.5 sacks, something like that. And just kind of be that, you know, that pass rusher. Then after that, Kevon Darton. This will probably be your other defensive lineman. Out of Syracuse, Dino Babers Connect. Thank you, Coach Babers. Now, listen, he's kind of an odd build, 5'11", 270, but I don't care because he's in college. So that, again, just means next to nothing for me. Kevon Darton, though, very, very good. Last year, he had 5 sacks as an interior lineman at Syracuse. That would have graded him out as one of the better players on Arizona this past year. He's coming here, and I think that solidifies that down line. So you're going to have at the edges, you're going to have Uyagalele, and you're going to have Tre Smith. Then on the interior, you're going to have BBN, Big Bill Norton coming back, my friends, Big Bill Norton, and Kevon Darton. That's good. Now, Arizona's just got to get more depth. That's the thing. Again, I'm not really breaking any news, but those 4 are fine. Totally cool with that. But I think the thing that helped Arizona a lot this past year was the depth and the fact that you had guys that were rotating in and out of the lineup, and they were good. And I think you want to be able to keep guys fresh. But again, you got the starters, you got 2 plug and play guys. So I got to give a big shout out to Brent Brennan and staff for being able to get that done, because that wasn't the easiest thing in the world. And again, as we know better than anybody here at Arizona, defensive linemen are not the easiest position to find. Far from it. Defensive linemen can be very difficult to find. So there was that was obviously a nice little get. But again, you're going to have to be resourceful. Now, it's not over. Keep in mind, the portal is essentially opening up 2 more times. So like we say, your roster is not really done until about August. So you got the roster right now that you need, or excuse me, you were able to help some of that, but you got to get more linemen. Now, there are some, we're going to talk about some of the more of the positions of concern, but first we're going to continue to address some of the positions that were impacted, and Arizona got a couple really good ones. But first, FanDuel, FanDuel.com/lockedon, my friends, FanDuel. All right. Now, you can put down $5, and if that bet wins, you get $200 in free plays. That simple, that easy. FanDuel.com/lockedon. There's nothing more enjoyable than betting on some sports and knowing that you've got that money's good. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to go meet somebody, $3 or, 3 streets down and then hide behind a dumpster and then exchange money. You don't have to do any of that. FanDuel says we are here to cut out the middleman. And so again, check it out, FanDuel.com/lockedon. You will thank me later. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's move back over to the running back position here. All right. Arizona's got a lot of quick, talented dudes. I'm super excited that Rayshon Speedy Luke is back. Everybody knows that I'm a big fan of Fam, and I think Fam's going to break out this year. I thought Fam should have been used more in the past. I watched Fam, and I think he's one of the fastest players in all of college football. And not only is he one of the fastest players in college football, I think he's one of the more elusive as well. When he was given opportunities, you could see that speed, you could see that burst. That's some next level stuff. So Fam is back, obviously. And then you got Brandon Johnson as well. Keep in mind, there are a couple guys we can't forget about before we get to the new dudes. Brandon Johnson out of Palmdale, sprinter speed, very, very good. He's going to be right in that mix. And then Jordan Washington, four-star kid out of Los Angeles. I think a lot of people thought that he would end up going to Washington. He did not. He said, I will stay here and I will back the A. So he is back in the A. We are very happy that Jordan Washington is decided to stay because, again, he is very good. And not only is he very good, he's also the dude who you know, he could kind of be Fam 2.0 replacement eventually. I think that Washington needs to redshirt. He's definitely undersized. He's probably about, 170. That's difficult. But when you're, especially in the running back, but I think that he's got a very nice future. I just think that he's probably going to have to redshirt this year, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that he would probably have to redshirt at any program just because he's not that big. Just kind of the way it is. It's the evolution of life, ladies and gentlemen. But Arizona got two big-time running backs. Why don't we start with Quali Conley, San Jose State. He came along. I think most people knew that he was going to come along with Brent Brennan. He's last couple of years, he's flirted with 1,000 yards, and he's averaged almost 7 yards per carry. He's good. Now, listen, a lot of times when guys come over from smaller schools, I don't know what to expect, but especially with running backs, I'm always curious about their yards per attempt or their yards per rush. And I think that he's a dude that I think he's a guy that is very, very he can do a lot. Now, he's a little bit bigger than Fam. He's about 202 pounds, but he's certainly proven during his time at San Jose State that he can play football, and he can play football at the highest level, or he can play football, and he did it really well against SC as well. So again, you gotta like what Quali Conley can bring to the table. Got 1 year remaining here, so you know that he's going to be super, super motivated, and he's shown. So again, he's a guy that I think a lot of people should be very excited about. Then you got New Mexico State transfer Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt. Interesting story. Started out of Alabama, went to a New Mexico State. Absolutely killed it. 17 touchdowns, 1,200 yards. A little bit bigger dude, about 5'11", 210, something like that. If this is probably going to be the closest you're going to get to that bruiser. But again, he's coming here and he's looking to take names. He was one of the best transfer running backs on the market. And not only that, you watch him and you know that he kind of looks like he's got NFL ability. Now, I think it's difficult a lot of times to get guys in the portal that you could say, all right, they probably have NFL ability. But I think that's certainly the case with Ja'Cory. With all these guys, you kind of wonder what is their ability to be able to pass catch out of the backfield, things like that. But I think there's U of A is rightfully very, very excited about what he can bring to the table because he got a little bit of that next level type feel to it. So I look at this running backs room now, and again, they needed to add some players, but I look at this running back room now, and I'm excited about what they got because you got Fam, who's going to be your 8 to 12 to 13 touch per game guy, whether that's catching it out of the backfield, whether that's rushing, whatever the case may be, kick returns. I would have Fam return every kick return, Rayshon Speedy Luke. But then after that, you've also got Quali Conley and Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt. I mean, that's a pretty good troika. I don't know that it's quite as good as Jonah Coleman, Michael Wiley, and DJ Williams, but I'll go the other way. I don't know that it isn't as good either. So there's a lot of potential there. Brent Brennan did a very, very nice job as far as being able to hold on to those players. And I think you're going to see a very nice running backs rotation there with all of those dudes. Then after that, Arizona still has a lot of positions that it has to address, or not a lot of positions, but it's got positions it's got to address. But on the offensive side, I think Arizona's ready to go. At quarterback, obviously, you got Noah Fafita. At wide receiver, you got T-Mac. After that, you got Malachi Riley, Kevin Green. Montana Lamonius Craig, AJ Jones. We will not forget AJ Jones. And then at tight end, you got Kean Burnett, you got Dorian Thomas, and then at the offensive line. That's where it's fascinating to me, because I think a lot of people thought that the offensive line was going to. I think a lot of people thought the offensive line was going to be in a spot where you're going to lose some dudes, whether that was Jonas Savanea, whether that was Wendell Moy, because, again, these dudes are high-level players. Jonas Savanea especially is going to be a first-round pick. I mean, that's what they look like. But Arizona was able to hold on to 4 out of the 5. So you pretty much know what your starting line is going to be. You're going to have Josh Baker at center. You're going to have Wendell Moy at I almost said shooting guard. You're going to have Wendell Moy at guard. Then you're going to have Jonas Savanea at the other guard. And then you're going to have probably Raymond Polito at right tackle. And then Alex Deuced, the Deuce Boost, who has decided to stay as well at left tackle. Now, again, with Deuced, it's going to be fascinating to see what he can do, because, you know, he wasn't a highly rated kid, and he ended up going to Northwestern, but he's a big guy. And the previous coaching staff, whatever you want to say about him, the previous coaching staff did a very, very good job of analyzing talent. And Deuce was somebody that was the top tackle on their entire board. So that means a lot to me. I know that it's crummy how Jed Fish left, but they were good at that stuff. But at the then on the defensive side, where we went through that, but you're going to have to get the line. You're going to have to get the line. You're going to have to get the line. But there's also some other positions before we get all started here, and we're going to talk about that next. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we got to talk positions of need. Like I said, on the offensive side, I'm pretty good. I think we're pretty set. Maybe bring in another quarterback, but Braden Dorman's back as your backup. Totally good with that. I mean, you got a 4-star backup there. Yes, sir. Thank you. But defensive line, obviously, I'm totally cool with the 4. But I need more depth, because that's just a position where you need depth. Guys go down, things happen. You need to have a little bit more depth there. So I would like to see Arizona continue to address that. Who knows? Maybe somebody like an Isaiah Johnson emerges. Who knows? But on the D line, that's where I'd like to see Arizona address that. Then at linebacker, going to have to bring in another linebacker or two. Listen, Jacob Manu is an absolute stud. We know we've seen that. Jacob Manu, if he's an All-American this coming year, I don't think that that would surprise anybody in the least. Manu is the man, best way I can put it. But then I think after that, you're kind of hoping that maybe Leviticus Sua can be that guy. Keep in mind, this is a fringe top 100 kid out of Mater Dei, committed to the U of A. He started playing better as the season went on. Brennan Carroll mentioned him multiple times towards the end of the year as somebody that was playing much, much better football. So I think ideally he would be that dude. And if he can be that dude, then I think you're in pretty good shape, because Manu's obviously a stud. And if Leviticus Sua can, play up to the potential that he showed, I think that he's going to be in a good spot as well. Now at the safeties, you're golden. Maybe get some depth. But between Gunnar Maldonado, between Genesis Smith, and between Dalton Johnson, you got 3 difference makers, and they're all difference makers in different ways. Dalton Johnson's kind of that he can do pretty much everything. Gunnar Maldonado got much better in coverage, but he's definitely somebody that he's really good when he can just pop the ball. My bad, Gunnar, by the way. I definitely owe Gunnar Maldonado many apologies. And then after that, Genesis Smith. I think Genesis Smith has the highest upside of the 3. I think Genesis Smith's probably going to play in the NFL. So those are going to be 3 safeties that are going to play a ton. You do not want those guys coming off the field if they don't have to, because they've already proven it. And I think by this time we know what they can do. But then at the corner, then it's a little more dicey. I expect Tacario Davis to come back. Tacario Davis is he's a player who, has NFL ability. I mean, he led the conference in pass deflections this past year. He's good. Tacario Davis is a good football player. And I expect him to come back. He's obviously would be that #1 corner that Arizona sorely needs to remain on the roster with the loss of Ephesians Prysock. And then after that, Trayden Stukes. Stukes is a fantastic nickelback. He's probably one of the best nickelbacks in the entire country. And if he's not, he's certainly right there. But you need you need a couple more boundary corners. And I think that's going to be on Brent Brennan to be able to find those. Who are those guys? Can it be Price? Or is it going, I would imagine you're going to have to hit the transfer portal with this. Because again, you lost Ephesians Prysock, you lost Jordan Shaw, and those are two obviously big losses that I think Arizona was banking on this coming year. But that's going to be on Brennan. So again, corner is definitely a spot where Arizona's got to address that, and they got to address that quickly, because again, you're going into a conference that likes to throw the football around a lot, and you feel really good about almost all the secondary, but you got to get some more pieces in there. You got to get some more guys that can cover. And if you can get some more guys that can cover, then I think you're in pretty good shape. But overall, again, it's not necessarily sexy, but I thought this was a good save by Brent Brennan and staff. Because listen, D linemen, as we've seen here at the U of A time and time again, are the most difficult position to be able to recruit. Not only are they the most difficult position to be able to recruit, they're the most difficult position to get difference makers. Arizona got two proven difference makers. Again, you could say at what level, but Darden at Syracuse was good. And Tre Smith was an all-conference dude in the Mountain West. I get it's the Mountain West, but you take what you can get. But now, this next portal, you're going to have to get more corners. You got to get some more corners. But I also have a great deal of confidence in Dwayne Aquina, though, because Dwayne Aquina is about as good a defensive backs coach as there's ever been, and having him there scouting that, finding DBs is something that I think Arizona is going to greatly benefit from. And then I'd like to see you get a couple more linebackers, and you got to get some backup defensive linemen. But other than that, I think Arizona's pretty much ready to rock and roll. I mean, I look at Arizona in the Big 12 next year, and I think that Arizona, along with Utah, is going to, I think those are the favorites in the conference. And Utah's got a glaring question mark because of Cam Rising. If Cam Rising's good to go, then Utah should be good. But we saw that, he had a major injury, and that, he was expected back this past season and he wasn't. So we'll see. But Arizona, I think, like I said, this was a great save by Brent Brennan. And not only was it a great save, I think it's also something where we also know now that Arizona can compete for a Big 12 title with the talent that it's got, and it's going to be exciting to watch that all unfold. So again, we'll keep bringing you the news as it comes, but wanted to be able to break down signing day and just kind of everything that went down with the U of A, because there's so many moving parts. But again, this one's far from over, but the template is good. The skeleton is good. And not only that, we're kind of at the stage now where I think that that this is going to be a top 15, top 20 program at the very least, which if you're an Arizona fan, you will 1,000% take. All right. Now, coming back on Monday, we're going to dive back into some Arizona basketball, obviously, talking about where that seeding can be, where Arizona fans should expect this Wildcat team to be. And as always, we're going to keep it on some Arizona football, because now we could be a football school as well. But all of you have a great, great rest of your Friday. Again, there's a Arizona-Colorado coming up. There's no better time to back the A. We need everybody out there, everybody making plays. But until next time, I'm your host, Mike Luke, and thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats.